Back from your holiday, mate. Turkey. Still got the same teeth?
Same teeth, same hair, and I did bring back a few extra kilograms.
Excellent. Good work. What should we talk about today? Right. So since you've been away, what's happened? England have got a new coach. Stephen Fleming has been appointed and Joe Root reappointed as captain. He wasn't on our list, was he, Fleming, when we were going through the... in fact, I think we discounted it. I think we just said Stephen Fleming has just left CSK, and we both said, well, he won't want the England job, and that was the end of that. Shows how much we know. But he's been put into place.
Standard,
exactly. So he's been given the job of rebuilding the test side. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the 100. The attendances have been falling with the IPL owners kind of now involved. You know, does the competition need India's biggest players to survive or to grow? Do Silly Point, obviously. And I've got a new feature for you, which we haven't really spoken about, but you'll get the gist of it. It's called Geraint's Golden Nuggets. And it's you teaching the world some great tips from your playing days. So that should be a short sequence. Anyway, let's go with.
I know, yeah. It's a one series. It's a one podcast.
It's a one show wonder. That's what that is. Let's start with Stephen Fleming then, appointed England's Test coach. He's analytical. He's strategically quite strong, isn't he? It's kind of, I guess, the opposite personality to Brendan McCullum, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I like it. You know, I've listened to a bit of what Rob Key has said about the whole, choosing Fleming, and yeah, I actually don't mind it. Interesting, it's another Kiwi. And even there's been some views on that. Darren Goff has been quite outspoken. So, I think the fact he's had 17, I think it is, years in the IPL and has called it a day. There's a wealth of experience, and with everything there, it's just that I suppose it's been all white ball stuff, and this is red ball. This is Test cricket over 5 days, but Fleming was pretty good at that himself.
Yeah, does that make you a good coach?
Having played a lot of it.
Yeah, having coached white ball stuff in recent years, but played a lot of red ball cricket to the standard that he did.
Yeah, I think the one thing with white ball cricket, it is quite strategic. You have to put good plans in place, and it's become very much that, and especially in the IPL with the analytics they got available, with the money they got available, the analysts that they can have looking at every little bit. And I think I've spoken before where that in selection of players they heavily lean to the analysis of using these machines that track the ball, AI sort of, and they set it up in certain places, and then they just choose the best batter that can strike a ball in the zones that they want. And so he would have had that, and I know that within the ECB they have a really high quality bank of analysts as well. So that's where we're looking at. Whereas the movement forward is incorporating modern technology in the analytical side of stuff, where Brendan McCullum was very keen on letting the players work it out for themselves, and actually moved a bit away from the heavy analysis side of stuff.
Rob Key also said something about he was going to build on what McCullum had done and bring out the best in the players. Small tweaks, I think, is what he said. But to me, it seems just like a safe appointment and a departure from the chaos and the carnage that was Bazball. How do you see it?
Yeah, but again, I really don't mind that, because if he can cherry pick the best bits of it and get the players, and we've always talked about getting the players to understand when that highly aggressive part of cricket can be implemented in a match. And I think that's where Fleming can, with his intelligence and understanding of the game, get that across to players. And he's not going to throw it out, because it showed it has some success early on, and we've definitely got some players to implement. Harry Brook, for example, at the right time can be so destructive and change a match in a session. Jamie Smith, he's a similar sort of player, and Stokes when he was flying. So that element of it, I think, is where we'll be looking for Fleming to take this team. You've got your standard Test match cricket, okay, and how you go about it over 5 days, but it's seizing those moments within the Test match which England need to get better at. They created so many winning moments and managed to not take them. So for me, that's Fleming's challenge: is get the players to understand the Test match is here for the taking, and then how do we do it? Is it aggressive, or do we have to dig in and get through a tough situation to then sort of make the most of it afterwards?
Did you ever cross paths with him in your playing career? Like,
Yeah, well, I'm pretty positive he was the captain when I made my home debut. It was the first series I played in England in 2004 was against New Zealand. McCullum made his debut in that series, and I'm pretty positive that Fleming would have been the captain.
and did you get any insight into his character in those interactions or not?
What I like about him is calmness. Everything that I've seen, from watching him play, and he always seemed fairly calm. And that, from a captain's point of view, that's what you want someone who you can look at and you think, oh, they're in control here. And that's what I think, for me, that Stephen Fleming portrays. He portrays that he's got everything in control. Whether or not he does, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if the team's just been, scored 250 in a T20 and bowled the opposition out for 100, or the other way around. And that's what I like. I think that's again, if that can influence the England side, because again, over the last few years, we've had some pretty ludicrous statements come out. And so, if all that can be calmed down, and cricket is calm but positive and taking the best bits, that's what I'm looking forward to.
He certainly comes across as calm and thoughtful and whatever. Mentioned a couple of players, so I'll just stick with those two in Brook and Jamie Smith. If they continue their McCullum ways, do you think that Stephen Fleming has got the strength of character to be able to say to them, you're out, and drop them and replace them with other players who are likelier to toe the Fleming line?
Yeah, well, for the one thing, we're yet to know what the Fleming line is. He could be, he could be the same. He could be keen on that quite aggressive route, and so with those two players there, they're going to fall in line with it. But I do think completely speculating, but I think he's the strength of character to want to mould a team around a certain way, and if you will need to fit into it. But I know that there's been some stuff gone on with this current England team, hasn't it? But I also think with the maturation of them, I'd like to think that's behind them a bit, and all that behaviour and whatever is in the past, and it's all stuff that they can learn from and move forward. So Harry Brook, for example, talking about him from captaining, wasn't given the captaining, and his batting side of it. Jamie Smith's been under pressure and he's come through it and he's learned from it. So I think Fleming is getting a good side at a great time, to be able to move forward. He's still got to do some tweaks, clearly, but he will back those players, because the one thing is those guys are match winners, and any coach will look at those players and think, it's my job to work with those players to get them the best out of them. I'm not going to go in there and I'm not going to go gung ho and go, if you don't fit in, you're gone, because they're too good. They're too good to do that to. That's his biggest task. Get in there, get the players together. Yes, explain his vision, explain how he wants, and then pick them off to go, listen, I know that such and such, this has gone on and what have you, and there's all this talk, but what do you need from me to be able to perform? And that's ultimate, because that's what the coach's role is: getting the players to play their best, to produce their best, to get the results for which the team want.
How much do you think Stephen Fleming's success at the Chennai Super Kings was because he had MS Dhoni there?
Well, you can't just pin it on one player. Okay, obviously Dhoni was a magician, but but I think probably the aura of Dhoni, it no doubt helped, and they clearly must have. When you look at them, they're not dissimilar characters. You can never really tell. Dhoni wasn't a hyper emotional guy, was he? He was the epitome of calmness. He got it done, and so the way he and Fleming worked together, which probably leads on to why Fleming is really keen on Joe Root. But obviously Dhoni played a massive part in it. But I'm not gonna say he's the only reason.
Right. Let's lead that on to Joe Root then. Reappointed as England captain, first time round, 64 tests, won 27 of them, less than half. Is it? This is a well trodden path, so but I think we start off with this. Is he the captain because there were no other options, no other viable options at this time?
Well, no, we've talked about this, and I, obviously Harry Brook was vice captain, and was overlooked, which potentially was to quieten the noise on him. To actually let's just give this guy a chance to be the world class player we know that he is. So there's been a load go on. Let, let's not make him captain where he's got to be in front of the press every day, all that sort of stuff. Let's let him be. And then you had my left field one of Ben Duckett. So I felt there were some options, but Joe Root and Fleming I can see working well together. And Fleming's role will be to sort of in a way take a bit of pressure off Root. Yeah, your skipper out there, using his analytics to help Joe Root in situations, especially. I think England's not been great at cleaning up the tail in the last few years. Without having Mark Wood around, players like that, and so that's an area which can help Joe Root, because anytime a team puts on 80, 90, 100 for the last few wickets, that's pressure, and that's a captain trying to manipulate and do things, and that's where I think when Joe finished previously, there was the criticism that the options that England went to was the same. We just always went short ball theory and hoped that it worked. So that's where I think Fleming can work. So I'd say no, that he wasn't the only option, but but I think I'm in agreement that he is the best option because of the place he's in. He's not necessarily chasing records like he may have been a few years ago. He's comfortable. He's got all these test runs behind him. He's come through a load of rubbish. When he was captain, it was there were so many things that went on. It wasn't easy for him. So he's a bit old, a bit wiser. I quite like it.
Not taking Broad Anderson to the Caribbean probably didn't go his way particularly well. Root captain V2. Do you think what do you think we're going to see differently? Because we had a glimpse of it, didn't we, at the Trent Bridge Test against New Zealand, where England. All right, yes, they went in with a weakened side, let's say, because of all the issues that had happened in the previous week or so. But again, his captaincy came across as quite negative. I used the word safe for Fleming, and if I use the word negative for Root, are we going to see an England side that basically is going to play Test cricket in a more mundane way? And if so, what do you think? Do you think that is the right way to go?
Well, for a start, we've got to be careful of using the word negative, don't we? We've got in trouble for that
We got
before.
told off, didn't we, by somebody? We won't say
yeah,
who.
yeah. So that I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think it's negative is the right word. Yes, Joe Root is potentially safer in his ways that he is field places. I think that was the big thing that when Stokes took over, we saw some very imaginative fields and quite aggressive fields, and you would look at them and go, "What on earth's happening here?" And so it was in stark contrast to the way that Joe Root captained. And when Joe Root captained again this summer, that's what people were wondering: would he would he introduce any Stokes fields and stuff? And I think that's again why I quite like the appointment, because he's watched 4 years of someone who has forced the issue between, with him and McCullum. They forced the issue all the time. It was aggressive. How are we going to get them out? All right, let's, and there must have been some science and research behind the fields that they included. And so that's where I see it, with using the analysts to their best, using Fleming's mind and his thinking and with that, and then just introducing and giving Joe the impetus to say, yeah, let's try a few of these fields. Let's just not go standard. So, and that's what Rob Key was on about. It's the using what was the good from McCullum and taking the team forward, not diving backwards to, as you said, maybe Joe Root of 4 years ago, which was a bit conservative. Let's take the best bits, and so when there's opportunities, let's put some aggressive fields in place. Let's really try and push that and win the test match in that moment. And that's going to be that's the key for me with Root is those little moments of him really having a go and doing something slightly different, just to see if we can force a wicket or what. That's what I'm looking forward to.
It would have been nice, I think, if Stokes had just resigned the captaincy but remained in the team. And I tell you why I say that. It's because I was on commentary on Sunday for Hampshire Durham in the Metro Bank One Day Cup, and Stokes was playing in that. He fielded, he didn't bat, he didn't bowl, but he was certainly there. But where he was really good is that Durham have got a young captain in Casey Aldridge, who's 25. And you could see Stokes was always there chatting to him, helping him. And they've obviously worked a lot on the fielding side, because they had some funky fields. They had at one point, they had two sort of kind of silly points, if you like, a little bit deeper, and two short mid wickets, but very straight, virtually next to each other for certain batters. You can see the Stokes effect there. So it would have been nice, I think, wouldn't it, if Stokes had, all right, I don't want to be captain anymore. I don't want the pressure. I don't want to be in the spotlight. And it was getting quite negative. A lot of the press were getting quite negative around that England side. But he remained in the side as the all-rounder that he is, and given Joe Root that advice. I think that, for me, would have been quite a nice combination for people to see. What do you think?
Yeah, we all would have loved, for Stokes to still be playing. He's a world class all rounder, and he makes things happen, doesn't he? And especially with the ball, that was his. He did more with the ball than the bat in his last few years, and so but he was pretty clear, pretty adamant that he didn't want to do it. And so, but yeah, you're right. Having a little bit of that sprinkle, that sort of that dust from his line of thinking with Joe Root, we could have seen something pretty special, but we're not, and he's been pretty adamant in everything he said, hasn't he? That he's, even Rob Key said, never say never, but Stokes himself has been very adamant that I read an article this morning actually over my breakfast that he's keen to really sort of push forward into the coaching role, and hopes to coach England one day. So it's that's potentially where his momentum shifts. So we'll see a bit of time for Durham, but won't be long before we see him popping up and getting these coaching roles.
Stokes ball, Bazball part 2. Rob Key said that he wouldn't be surprised if Stokes made an Ashes return next year. Stokes on a podcast recently said he had definitely retired. He also said he was surprised that Harry Brook hadn't been made captain. Is it just a holding pattern, do you think, for Joe Root, or do you think England have decided that Harry Root isn't captaincy material, and that they are going to, get test captaincy material, because obviously he's the white ball captain, and they are going to move away from Harry Brook in that role, and that's why Joe Root's been put in place?
Yeah, I think so. Joe Root can't and won't go on forever, will he? And Harry Brook's still a relatively young man, so Root's probably got, don't know how many years he's got on it, and maybe that was part of the conversations that was had between Key, Fleming, and Root with the appointing of him, is that listen, we need you for 2 years, or even maybe to the end of the Ashes. Who knows? And we just want a bit of heat off Brook. We want him to play his cricket for the next 18 months, 2 years. We're going to work with him. We're going to mould with him. Again, that could be part of Fleming's behind the scenes work is to really sort of work on Brookie with his Test match captaincy and go from there. So yeah, I still can see Harry Brook as an option in a couple of years.
So you don't think England have moved on from him? You just think it's a holding pattern? Holding pattern.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think he's too good a player, and in fact, he's captaining, some white ball stuff that they definitely haven't dismissed him. I just, I think it's just the right time now is Joe Root, and let's just let Harry Brook sort of play some red ball cricket and get rid of the noise for him for a while, and let's see where we are in a couple of years.
If McCullum and Brook are the correct combination, which I do think they are, to take England towards World Cup glory, do you think Fleming and Root are the right combination to win back the Ashes next summer?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that Fleming and McCullum get on. They're business partners. That's been written about, and that balancing between the different formats and what players are doing what. I think that negotiation potentially has a smoother transition and smoother happening because of the relationship that those guys have got. So it's, in a way, it's, you could sort of give Rob Key a bit of a pat on the back and saying, well, with this appointment, it's pretty savvy because those two and the way that they can potentially work together for the best direction of all formats. Whereas if you brought someone else in who was pretty bullish, pretty hard-headed, and just to run the Test match, and you say to them, "Well, actually, we need to rest Harry Brook for these first two matches, or we're going to let Harry Brook go off to the IPL," and that coach is there going, "Well, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. Do you want results from me, or what do you want from me?" And so you could have seen some clashes. So, Rob Key could have, pulled off a bit of a masterstroke there with the relationship that those two coaches can have moving forward as well.
I said that I would, after a couple of weeks ago, because we didn't do one last week, that I'd change the game, but I haven't. I've just added Geraint's golden nuggets to it, so to the show. So we are still with Who Am I? You're quite good at these, so yeah, especially after the Mackay Antini one. I'm pretty sure this bloke didn't play at Kent. So let's go with it. You ready? So against Lords in 1990, giving it time he played, with India needing 24 runs to avoid the follow-on and the 9th wicket down, I hit off-spinner Eddie Hemmings, remember him? Played for Notts, for 4 consecutive sixes to clear the margin single-handedly. So big hitting, Indian, played in the 90s. Yeah, that's clue 1. Actor Ranveer Singh.
Yeah, I've got someone in mind, but I can't remember his name.
Actor Ranveer Singh portrayed me in the 2021, in a 2021 biographical sports drama film. I'm not giving you the name because of the film, because I would tell you the answer. Over a 16-year career, so he played a long time. 131 Test matches this bloke played. He was never once dropped from the playing 11 due to poor form or injury. So he was always in the playing 11 over 131 matches. That's good going, isn't it? Not to ever get dropped for any of those reasons. He scored 175 not out versus Zimbabwe in the 83 World Cup. But because the BBC was on strike that day, there was no official television footage, so can't be verified, but that's what happened. He's the only player in Test history. You got it? You got a guess? No. Only player in Test history.
I've got brain fog from a week of all inclusive. My brain is just mush.
Yeah, well, you say this a lot, and then you pull something out the bag. So, it's the proverbial rabbit in the bag. In your Turkey holiday, were there magicians on stage? And because you basically went to Butlins in Turkey, didn't you? No, exactly.
No, it was a much higher
Much higher
class than that.
class.
Thank you very
What
much.
is that? What is much higher class than butlers? Or was there a magician on the stage pulling rabbits out the hat? What
No,
two am I on? I've
belly
no idea.
dancers.
Oh yeah, he got 5,000 runs and 400 wickets. This bloke. As a teenager in an under-19 camp, when an administrator mocked my ambitions by claiming India has never produced a fast bowler, I used the insult as motivation to become India's first genuine world-class pace bowler. In 1990,
Javagal Srinath, was it?
it wasn't. No, good guess though. In
Oh, I'm struggling now.
1994, I surpassed Richard Hadley's world record by taking my 435th Test wicket, making me the highest Test wicket taker at history at that time, or in history at that time. So, no, nothing coming to you. In 2000,
Where's Kapil Dev?
is that a guess?
Well, no, that go on. Is it Kapil Dev? How's my brain going?
That's not a guess. It is
Go
a
on.
guess.
Kapil Dev?
Is that a guess?
Well, does it rule me out?
No, because I should do that. We stopped doing that, didn't we? Because that's why you stopped guessing, you see. So you have to bring that back in again. If you do guess, then yeah, I've got to say you're out. But we hadn't got this rule in for this particular episode, so you can
Right.
guess if you want,
I'm just
or you
trying
can
to
go with a
think.
bit of jeopardy, have another clue. In 2002,
Go on then. Hit me with one more. Yeah.
he was the Wisden Indian cricketer of the century, ahead of Sunil Gavaskar and Sachin Tendulkar. That was in 2002.
Purely because I'm struggling to think of anyone else. Go on, let's go all in with Kapil Dev.
So actor Ranveer Singh portrayed me in the 2021 biographical sports drama film 83 because it was about the captain of that 83 World Cup winning side. It was Kapil Dev. So there you go, Jonesy. See? So what we're going to
There
do
we
next
go.
time is I think it's too easy for you now. So I think we'll stick with Who Am I, but it is Jeopardy time. So I've got to have a chance. I've got no chance of winning one of these unless we get all the way through to the end. And 10's obviously quite an easy clue. So next time I'm going to go in with you've got one guess, and you got to get it right. Otherwise, victory to me. Let's have a chat about the 100 then, or the 16.4, as those who oppose it call it. There's a Facebook group called County Cricket Matters or something. And it's basically, you might as well rename it the anti-100 group because there's basically people ranting about the 100. I quite like it, but that's not the point. So the first 6 matches, or the first 6 rounds in the men's competition this year, the crowds are down by 18%. So they're down by 20,000. It was 109,000 last year and 89,000 this year. And he thought, I mean, it's the first year of these new ownership structure, IPL teams. I don't see that having an impact on attendances particularly, but you got any sort of thoughts as to why the crowds have fallen?
Not really, because I'm with you. I quite like it as a form. In the cricket you get is pretty decent cricket, isn't it? I just think it's economics in a way. Is that we've had quite a bit of cricket going on. The Women's World Cup. You have got the T20 Blast, and I do think it falls a little bit foul of actually support. Like you support a county, don't you?
Mm.
So for people here in Kent, I don't think there's not going to be many people who will specifically make the trek up to the Oval to support MI London. There's not you're going there for the experience, not to support your team. So, you might do that once, but you're not going to go up there for consecutive games. And that was always the thing with me for the 100 is that supporter base. You're going there for the experience, and you're getting people from London, so the after work crowd will probably drip in there. So you've got that, but those actually fans going there to support is probably where they're missing out, because they will go and watch one and they'll be happy with that, and then they'll catch up with the other with the other results and what have you on highlights, and a bit of the expense as well. I think that people are probably feeling that a bit. So it's not necessarily the the product that's produced is the issue. I think it's just all the cricket that's going on. People were still able to go watch some T20s, weren't they? I think towards and it was so quick with happening after the T20s. I know with the women, there was matches on the Sunday, and then the first 100 match was on the Tuesday, and so people aren't going to be able to fork out that sort of cash. So that's what they've got to look at again, it's fitting everything into a narrow summer, isn't it? So it's how they do that. And if introducing stars is a way of getting people to go and watch more, that's something that they've got to maybe try and push for and try and do.
I think there's an interesting thing at play here in terms of that Hampshire Durham match at the Utility on Sunday. There were 3,000 people there for a 50 over match, and obviously the Stokes effect, but the crowds. I mean, even when Middlesex were there was a couple of thousand. So you're right in what you say. I think the Hampshire, the county fan is running against 100 and supporting their county because English sport is very territorial, isn't it? Cities in football or clubs and affiliated cities and it's not and its county is not the American franchise model, so they move around city to city as the economics determine. And yeah, franchise cricket is alien to us here, and it will take some time to bed in. But someone described it as the 100 as cricket for a football audience, which I thought was quite good because it is bringing in a new audience. So you see your cricket fans go support Hampshire or Kent or whoever, but then those who are new to the game can go to the 100 and that makes it accessible. So the other side of that argument, though, going back to your star players point, is that if you know very little about cricket, having star players there won't make any difference. So is it actually the franchise system that just needs to take time to bed in, and we're trying to judge it too early?
Yeah, but to sort of counteract what you're saying about the stars there, that the people that don't know cricket, they'll be going with someone that potentially does know cricket that's taken them along there, hasn't it? They would have said, "Yeah, I'm going to go watch the 100 tonight. Do you fancy it?" And this person will go, "Well, I don't know anything about cricket." And they go, "Don't worry about that. Just come along. It's a good night." And so there's that element of it. And I think that's what the 100 was first brought about. They tried to introduce it exactly that as a way to get people who aren't necessarily cricket fans to come along for the experience. So the razzmatazz of having the DJ there and all those extra elements where and then gradually you'll drip feed these people what cricket's about, and you'll create some fans. So that's where they try and do it. But I do think that ultimately, to go along in the first place, they will be going with someone that does know their cricket and will want to see potentially those stars and a higher caliber. It also comes back to, so if you live in Hampshire, what's the nearest 100 team for Hampshire? Is it
Southern Brave
down in Wales?
No, Southern Brave, basically Utility.
Well, 100, okay. That shows how much I take notice of the 100. So you're competing there straight away, aren't you? You've got that franchise. Where I was going at is for me here, for me to get to the Oval, if I'm using public transport, because I'm not going to try and go up there, it's the best part of 2 hours. And it's, with a train, it's another 60 quid on the train ticket to go up there and watch it. And so, of course, what will I do? I'm going to go watch Kent because it's more accessible. And I think that's a bit of the what they're up against as well.
But then you've got a Kent side devoid of Billings and Crawley. If anybody else has got 100 contracts, so you've got but 2-star guys around.
The rest of them are pretty decent. Yeah, but with the rest of the counties losing their star players as well, Kent looking at it and going, "Hang on a minute, we're pretty strong in this competition." That they've had some good wins, so the county is winning. So the fans for the county are going to watch it because they're thinking, "Hang on a minute, we're doing well in this trophy. We're going to keep supporting that." So it's a real sort of conundrum for them. This 50 over competition still going on at the same time is pulling away. I think definitely pulling away from people going to watch the 100. If the 100 was standalone, nothing else happening, a bit potentially a bit like in a women's game, with tier one stuff. I think you might see that people drift towards watching cricket because currently at Kent, there's not a single match of Kent playing at Canterbury in August at the home, at their own. There's no cricket to go and watch in Canterbury here, but
Mm.
that's not going to force me to go and get on a train and 2 hours to go watch MI London. I'm just going to sit here frustrated that I can't go 15 minutes down the road and watch my home team.
Yeah, a lot of the complaints are also that at the height of summer, England aren't playing Test matches as well. Um, so therefore, yeah. So what has happened is that the one day cut crowds have got stronger, right, than they were last year. And maybe the 20,000 that have fallen have gone to watch their counties play or not, whatever. The 100 audiences are down, and the One Day Cup audiences are pretty good. So I'm going to go back to what I said a couple of weeks ago. I think that there are one too many competitions in this country, and I think for just as blocks of stuff, regardless of when they're played. You have county cricket. You have the county championship that can top and tail the season. Say, I understand commercially why the shorter form, from a TV perspective, anyway, takes up the middle ground. Yes, you can have tests in that as well, but fundamentally, we could have a block of county-based One Day Cup as a standalone tournament in July, say, one block of the 100 in August as a standalone tournament, which then means if you do want to watch cricket, then there's nothing competing against it. And that means the blast does go. But if England and if the ICC, wants to build the game on T20, then it will be franchises that will make the game stronger because you're building a better product effectively. So I think that's a solution. What do you think?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's it's so tricky because um you still want how are most of the domestic players who, especially young domestic players who you want to filtrate into your England team in future years, how are they going to get their opportunities and learn to play and be put against some very good players, which in the blast I like the blast as a competition. It's the one that doesn't quite work is the 50 over, but we need that for World Cups because as
Well,
long as
currently,
for
yeah.
the whole time that there's 50 over World Cups, you have to play them. Yeah, I think this is the head scratching that probably the powers that be do every couple of years, and so how can we make this work? And whilst you were talking there, it's not something I've thought about, but if you took the 100 on the road, so for example, MI London, Surrey, based at the Oval. I guarantee you, if they came and played, one of their fixtures, a double header here at Canterbury, and
Mm.
I'm going to be Canterbury biased. It would sell out.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
you're not.
Yeah, yeah.
The Oval. What's the capacity of the Oval?
20 odd thousand.
What's it at now? 20 odd thousand. And so you're then looking at going. Um, you're going down to Canterbury where maybe you could put up some better stands and try and get it up to 12,000, for
Yeah, that's
example,
what they
if
do at the
health and
utility.
safety people.
Yeah, put
Yeah.
temp stands up,
So that
get it.
way, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that way I can see it. That's potentially what I'd like. I'm going to pin my hat to the mast. That I would like that someone like MI London brings goes has a travelling where they come and involve because Kemp supply and especially in the women's game they supply a lot of players to Surrey, and so that's where they are wanting the Kent affinity to come and support them. So how about we think about having a road game? You know, a bit like in Australia growing up, that they would take a match to the country.
Yeah.
You know, come
Well, the
out to the
NFL
sticks,
does it,
come
doesn't it?
out to the sticks of Canterbury. Yeah, exactly. You know, bring in one country game, and you would sell it out. You would then potentially start to create a fan base of Kent people, Canterbury people, to go, and then you start. Oh, actually, no, we're going to make the effort to go up to the Oval because that was amazing. We love that at Canterbury. So, you know, that's possibly where the thinking to try and, you know, it's going to take a few years to happen, but then you start maybe getting more people, and that 20% that you're losing, yes, you're giving up the opportunities to try and sell out the Oval at 25,000, but they're not doing that currently. Yeah, it's those sort of things where can you incorporate the wider community, but with still that same product?
There was that discussion actually on the when we're getting emails in on Sunday on commentary about why, you know, back in the day the counties used to play county championship matches at Outpost, didn't they? In Hampshire they play at Basingstoke, and at Surrey they played at Guildford, and that's all gone away. I think it's because Yorkshire had been playing some of their one-day cup matches at York, and that question came up. So that's certainly something that's gone away. But where I think the 100 has been strong is in the women's game, because that when I was at the utility the other day, there was I think the capacity is about 11,000, I think, at the utility, and I think there's about 6 or 7,000 were in for the women's game. Well, that's quite cool. We're going to have a capacity crowd for the men's. It didn't seem to increase that much for the men's, so which shows actually that the women's 100 is strong. Now they've got the Indians playing in it. Deepti plays. Jemima Rodriguez was playing the other day. I think Smitty Munden is captain at one of the sides. I'm not sure, but if so, that rounds it back to the India question, I guess. If if the Indian women are allowed to play, why are the men not playing?
Great question. You know, because it would have a massive impact on crowds here. You know, the Indian fan base based here in the UK. You've only got to see it when India come over and play test matches and one days. It, you know, that would be your instant fix for crowds.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what the franchise owners would be pushing for as well. You'd think.
Yeah, I don't. What have India got on? Are they doing anything currently in the world of cricket?
I think so. No, Virat's chilling in Notting
And
Hill.
it's
You know, they've obviously been
yeah,
here.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think they're playing anything. I think their domestic season started, isn't it? Ranji Trophy and the Duleep Trophy and stuff. I think that's what started up back there, I think. But this time of year in India, what are we, August? It's pretty hot. So if they're not touring here, they're probably not, or the West Indies, they're not doing much.
No, let them play.
Let them
Let them
play.
play. I say.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would.
that
Yeah, you would see full stadiums everywhere if you had each team, and maybe that is what they're working towards. You know, it's like everything in life. We want instant fixes now, whereas
yeah.
this maybe strategically with getting the the franchises involved with the IPL franchises. This is something. You know, this is these people sitting behind the desks who are going, well, actually, stage one. Stage one is let's get involvement with Indian IPL franchises because and then in that negotiation it's going to take us a couple of years, and then stage two and three is that we start each team has a marquee Indian player, you know, because then that will, and then we know that that will bring the crowds, and then you might have so yeah that's potentially where we'll see the evolution of it will be is that it's that you have these marquee Indian players because that would fix crowds so quickly.
Look, I think at the end of the day, two or three things really to finish this bit off. One is franchise sport is alien to us in this country, and it will take some time to bed in. The older generation, of which we are part of, let's say the cricket traditionalists, won't like it because it's not their county and they will actively not go, I guess, the majority of them, or some of them at least, and will then prefer to support their county, which is great. But then you've got a whole raft of millennials, and Gen Zs who follow the player more than the team. And if you've got the superstars in, be it Kohli, be it Rohit Sharma, whoever that might well be, then you'll find that the competition does take off. I think, and all of those three things are time related, aren't they? The 100 is for a different audience, and that's just the way we're going to have to accept it as being.
And I also I'll tell you what might be an interesting thing to see is the Jude Bellingham effect.
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah,
obviously
he went
he was
Birmingham
at he was
Phoenix,
at
didn't he?
yeah. Yeah, so he was at the Phoenix match recently. He was out there, and there's been so much social media traction about it. So it'll be an interesting little thing to do. Would be okay. Well, let's track to see if that has helped. So all of a sudden, you've got you've got an increase in fans going to watch the Phoenix's next few matches in the hope that Jude might be there as well, or all these football people that maybe thinking, Bellingham, he's involved, he's bought there. Let's go and have a look at that. So little bits like that will be interesting to see the traction of the impact of someone like that. You say people follow one person. Well, Bellingham obviously had such a great World Cup. Has his impact followed on to to the 100, and have we got more people in? Because then you start to say, okay, that may be another way. Is let's link someone famous to each team, and then they get quite involved, and then you're also drawing on that as well.
It is definitely entertainment first, cricket second, isn't it? And it's very much that sort of American NBA. NBA is probably a good comparative or comparison to make. Where you look at the games going on, but a lot of the camera work is in the crowds, who's the celebrities, the big face on the screen, all that sort of type of stuff. And that's the entertainment model or the broadcast model that the 100 is following. And it is an antithesis to what we know here, but things move on, eh? You can't always stand still, otherwise, nothing's ever going to change. I should have developed a new feature, klaxon, shouldn't I? But what we should have done is got your kangaroo knackers out again. They've not made an appearance since the Ashes, which is a shame, because this new feature is called Geraint's Golden Nuggets. Now, obviously, it's not been it's not been aired yet, so who knows what will happen. But my thinking was that let's use your vast cricketing knowledge, which a lot of it comes out in opinions and the chat that we have. But obviously, you've done a lot of coaching in the women's game, assistant coach at Kent, and also involved with the England Lions. So I thought, why don't we do a quick feature on skills and how it was developed, who are the best proponents of it. So people listening to this might have something that they can go and try, or go and just research and whatever. So I want you to pick every week. Pick one bit of cricketing skill. Can be batting, can be bowling, because as we know, you've got magic fingers. It could be keeping, and talk us through that.
My fingers are no longer magic. Magic wrists.
Magic
mate.
wrist. Sorry, magic
fingers
wrist.
are far from magic.
Magic wrist. And pick on one thing every week. Talk us through the skill, and let's see how this develops. So pick a skill in Geraint's Golden Nuggets.
I think for a start, you're being optimistic in pluralizing it.
Yeah, there'll be another short feature.
Okay, let's talk about the scoop, or the ramp shot.
Yeah,
it's something. It's the evolution of it. If I think growing up and playing, it was never a shot that I can remember anyone playing. And the first, we had, obviously it was a reverse sweep, but Gatting trying and not, getting out to that in the World Cup final, I think it wasn't it, so that was the first time looking at going, hang on a minute. But then Malloy, he's one that I think probably, he's the first one that I remember seeing that and going, oh my gosh, that is just wild.
Because he nailed it as well, didn't he?
He was unbelievable at it, and it takes, and for me, I can't. But then so that was a proper or a stand-up sweep shot to a fast bowler. Then you had the Dill scoop,
yeah,
which again you thought, you thought, oh my God, and effectively, if I think back to my time, those shots are about bravery. And so especially the early part of it, because no one before that was willing to put their head down in the hitting zone of
Yeah,
someone bowling at 90 mile an hour. It was just completely, it was a no-go area. No one was willing to do it. But when I watch it now, and I marvel at it because one, it's opened up a completely new scoring zone that people didn't access on purpose for a long time. And when I watch it, it's actually such a simple shot that to execute. And the fact you can hit it for six, it's not a power shot, it's finesse shot. And I think probably if we're thinking who played it, Joss Butler was the one who brought it in and really made it open to everyone and to to try it. And now every time you see the nets, you'd have to watch a kids training session for 5 minutes max, I reckon, before someone is attempting the
yeah.
scoop. Uh, so that's the shot that I want to chat about.
Have you got any cricket bats in your house still? Have you got any kit?
Well, you're going to try and do a live one here.
Yeah, I'm going to see if you can do a demo, or maybe get a rolling
well,
pin.
I
Get something
actually,
up. 'Cause I want to
I've
see
got.
what do you do with your hands. How do you position? What do you do?
Yeah.
What's the setup? Go on,
Well,
we can do it.
I'm completely I'm guessing because I was never brave, and I suppose that's the other reason is I was never brave enough to do it, and so that's why now I marvel at it and think fair play. Right, hang on a minute. I reckon Reese has left a cricket bat in the front room from where. Yeah, hang on. I'm glad we've planned this well, mate, as
Yeah,
usual.
it's a good feature, this, isn't it? Planning is obviously the key part of what we don't do particularly well, but I'm hoping that Jonesy is able to show us how to play the scoop or the ramp shot, something he never did in his career. And
Yeah,
so this might go terribly wrong. I mean, the first point is can he find a bat? And he looks like he's got one.
yeah.
There you go.
I've got one. And
Great Nick's advert for
it's
everyone.
a retro bat. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. This is the bat. This is my bowling machine bat, my practice bat. Because it was a bit harder, so it wasn't. I didn't use it in a game. No grip on it.
Not now. You mean
But
when you were playing, you used that in the nets.
yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's retro.
So why did you
Reese?
why did you have a different bat in the nets than you went? Is that normal? Do professional cricketers have a net bat and then
I think
bat?
a lot of guys do because you that's where you do your most hitting of balls, isn't it? And so if you have a bat that is absolute beauty of a bat, if you use it all the time, it's pretty quickly you're in danger of wearing it out. The face so to elongate my best bat, I'd have a practice bat, and often
Okay.
it was one which didn't. It was a bit harder, so the more you hit it, you would sort of break down the face of it, and then eventually, it potentially is something you could, if something happened to your other one, you're almost sort of getting it ready. But I remember this one just stayed hard, so I used it a lot in the winter to practice.
Okay.
But effectively, I wanted the bat I was most confident with to last for as long as I could, and so I generally tend to practice with something else.
Go on then, show us what you do with the scoop. How'd you do it?
Oh my gosh! Well, I think you definitely need a slight grip change. So here we go.
Yeah, stand up better.
So yeah. So normally, that's your grip to face up, ready. Nice, relaxed. But then to scoop, you're looking to present the face like that to ramp it. A ramp shot is the better because that's all you're trying to do is literally angle your bat, use the pace, and the ball will ramp off it. Where players get in trouble is when they try and lift it. So it's not a lift because if you think a ball traveling at 90 miles an hour towards the face, bouncing, and then you're trying to time your bat to lift it. That's where young players miss it because the bat is doing that motion. Josh Butler was so good at just standing there and he just moved his bat sort of along a line to be able to ramp it up. So you have to get, look at man, mate, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. This wasn't part of the.
It's it's a good feature.
So
This I like this.
you want to be low, and your head. You have to get your head. And that's where I talk about bravery. You know, I think where players go wrong as well is their head's way off the line of it, and so you have to
Which
be
is
brave,
natural.
and you're
Yeah.
effectively looking to. Yeah, you're looking to ramp it over your shoulder. So Dill scoop, that's what he was, because he would have it there and he would sort of ramp it but duck down straight over the top of the head. Whereas the modern day player now, if it's outside off, they can move, ramp it there, down leg, they can do that. The other thing players get wrong is they move too far out of the line, they expose their stumps. So the key is, and Josh Butler was so good at that, was still, and it was just the bat moving with an angle, not scooping it up and taking it back off the line. Is that? And how's that?
That's a tremendous demo, mate. I like that. But it's a particular length that the bowler needs to be bowling for the scoop or the ramp to work.
No,
Okay.
I think because of the modern player and because of the nature of it, and if you're in that low crouch position but still mobile, you can adjust. So if it's a really good Yorker,
Yeah.
you can adjust yourself to do it. If it's a bail height ball, you can just lift the bat up to change, to do it there, and you're then helping it on. And then you even see now if it's a slower ball bouncer, they're able to. That becomes then a bit more of a lift than a hit shot. But I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can adjust yourself to the length of it. You're not stuck in, and that's why it's become such a successful and such a go-to shot. A few things to be aware of is the field you're playing it to. If I think what I'm seeing and what we see a bit in the women's game, and is that it's being played to slower bowlers when there's a 45, so a short fine leg in place, and there's just not the pace to scoop it over them. So the few players are being caught out there. So you do want to, whether or not it's a bit of manipulation, but if there's generally you play it when there's a wide fine leg in place and a wide third man, is because that's a massive quadrant of the field that there's no fielder there. So in simple way of talking, you're hitting to the ball where there isn't a fielder. So that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But when they start to, if they put a fielder in place, and then you'll say, okay, hang on a minute, I'm playing a shot here which is only really getting me one run. Where is my section of the field that isn't populated? Okay, now I'm going to hit over that way. And so that's batsmanship, where the craft of batting, where you are playing to an area of the field that doesn't have a fielder, and if this is a strong shot of yours, how do you create that? How do you do it? And also, are you prepared to do a ball one? I remember Steve Marsh, former Kent wicketkeeper. He always talked about, if there was no 45 in there and a spinner came on, he would play at ball one, where he would go down and he would play the little sort of deflection shot, little paddle sweep, and until they put someone there, he'd keep playing it because it was such a run scoring simple shot for him. And it's the same with the ramp. But the amazement for me now is how often they get hit for six. That's the thing. It's there's no, where we're talking about a power game and everyone's been learning to do power hitting and traditionally in front of the wicket. It's now a shot that can easily be hit for six, with minimal effort, and that for me is what amazes me still with every time it's played.
Tremendous. Geraint's golden nuggets. What a start we've got up to with our new feature. Look at that. It's you're right in your element there, aren't you? Talking about skills and coaching and all that jazz. I know it's a phrase you like a lot.
Yeah, you've got to be.
Exactly, mate.
You've got to be. That's what gets the old beans flowing now, is out of coaching, and exactly like that, working with someone, sort of explaining it, going through it. seeing their evolution coming through. And so, that's ultimately what I love. And you've got to, as a coach, you've got to portray that energy. If you're a coach out there and you're not giving off that energy, I think your player will feed off that and they'll quickly get bored. But if you can show excitement and genuine excitement in what you're doing, it has a massive impact on the person you're working with.
There was I thinking that you got your cricket enjoyment out of talking with me every week. But there you go, mate. Nicely done. Another great episode. And I will speak with you this time next week.